A new white paper reveals the value and future potential of clinical home care in helping to address two of the key challenges facing today's NHS: quality of patient care and system capacity. The inquiry was launched as there was no specific mention of clinical home care included in the NHS 5-year forward view, the NHS roadmap that outlines the future vision of an NHS which can deliver better care and a better experience for patients. To talk about the findings of the white paper, I'm joined now by Jim Featherstone, Chief Operating Officer at Healthcare at Home. Jim, welcome to you. Tell us a bit more about this white paper. What is it actually looking at?
So the purpose of the white paper was to raise the profile of clinical home care. And by clinical home care, we mean the delivery of clinical services to the patient in home. So this could be supporting patients with inflammatory disease or other complex chronic conditions. One of the issues that we found was that in the NHS 5-year forward view, so the roadmap that outlines the future vision of the NHS, the services that were defined therein and the criteria for inclusion actually applied to clinical home care. So we wanted to raise the profile of that service and that solution, and we wanted to better define the units of value that clinical home care can bring to the NHS, something which, overall we thought hadn't been done that comprehensively. There are significant differences between clinical home care and other services such as domiciliary care. And I think getting that definition straight and an understanding of those units of value to the NHS were very important. So that was the main focus and thrust of the white paper, if you like.
Can you just define for us what is meant by clinical home care?
Sure. So clinical home care is the provision of relatively high-tech services in the patient's home. So it could be oncology infusion, it could be the administration of biologic drugs. It's not domiciliary care as such. It's sophisticated clinician-driven support.
OK, so what were the major findings of this study that you've been doing?
The first finding was an agreement around the standard definition of clinical home care. I think one of the issues that we face in this area is that there is no standard definition, and clinical home care can be confused and muddied. So the first finding was an agreed definition amongst the working group that participated in this, so stakeholders from the pharmaceutical industry and the NHS, so an agreed definition. The other findings were an acceptance of the fact that there are some long-term value drivers provided by this model that are accepted, if you like, but possibly not well articulated at this moment in time to the NHS.
Also joining me now is Christine Outram, who's chair of the Christie NHS Foundation Trust. Do you think that clinical home care has then been overlooked in terms of NHS planning, and why has that been the case, do you think?
Clinical home care has been going on as part of NHS care for a long time, quietly for patients who need it and who have benefited. And perhaps it has been overlooked slightly in the planning for the future, which is understandable because there's a lot to do in the health service in terms of hospitals and primary care to transform, in some cases, the way services are provided. And that's, a job in itself. But clinical home care can be a really good ingredient as part of the overall mix.
So how will it be able to help the health system in general and individuals in years to come?
There's a large body of evidence out there that shows that patients in the home tend to do better. They have closer care from their carers and family. You can drive adherence and persistence of medication more effectively through wraparound services in the home. So patients tend to generate better outcomes. They tend to have fewer what we call non-clinical drop-offs. So adherence goes up, patient outcomes go up. And what that means is that fewer patients readmit to hospital, it places less burden on the healthcare system, and it allows the healthcare system to treat many more people.
What would you like to see happen from here?
We would really like planners, people looking at the future of the NHS, to remember that clinical home care is an option, that it has great benefits for patients. It can produce great benefits for the health service as a whole. It can be cheaper. So we want people to, when they're developing new models of care for the future, we want them to build clinical home care in where appropriate so that people really have more choice.
People would like to get more information. Is there somewhere they can find out more about the white paper and what you're proposing?
They should look at the Healthcare at Home website, hah.co.uk. It's Healthcare at Home, and they'll be able to read the report and they'll be able to track what's happening about it.